For booty, yeah. So you
Can it fit through a door?
so like I don't know if you guys can put up a trailer, but like you
We'll put up a trailer, right?
We can put it here.
yeah, you go through like an obstacle course, and it's like you have to like collect the flag, and you have to keep it for a certain amount of time. There's different competitions or games that you have to play. Like there's capture the flag, there's battle royale, there's
What are you battling with?
battling other Batopians.
With?
Other Batopians.
Oh.
So we designed.
Are you boxing?
No. It's you have to win the Booty Olympics. So you have to finish the obstacle course without dying.
Don't get too stuck into the details, man.
Hey man, this is an interesting thing. I don't understand.
I'll put the trailer up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can get it on Steam, and it's multiplayer as well.
Okay.
And we designed like 4 different butt types.
4
that actually exist in the world, and we created
in
characters
the world.
off
How
of
many
that.
butt tubs do you have in South Africa?
I don't know the data, but there's like 4 main butt types. There's like 6, but like there's 4 main.
He's done his research.
We've watched hours and hours of talking videos. And
You watched hours and hours of taking.
for animation, for research purposes, you know. So, and it's not fun. Like after the
It
first
is not fun.
2 hours, 2-3 videos, you just like stop.
Should have called me into that exercise.
Maybe if we have a reboot, I'll let you know. Please.
Excuse the pun, reboot.
Hey!
All right, before we go down the rabbit hole on twerking and stuff. So I know you attend the Africa Games Week most years. Yeah, weirdly, I didn't see you this last year in December in Cape Town. But anyway, I know you attend there. So part of the reason I go hang out there because it's the only time or space I can meet up with face to face, at least with other developers from the continent.
Sure.
They come through, and their stories are interesting, right? Like there's guys that are doing the most amazing creative work, and they do shoestring, right? They do. There's no real ecosystem that supports them. There's winners here and there that come from different backgrounds, and they have means and ways to make things happen. Making an indie game isn't easy anywhere, but the market in which you're building the game does matter. It changes. So, given the context of you're in South Africa, one of the themes that I came up a lot with a lot of the guys I chatted to there was how are they making their stories palatable to the bigger audience, the Western audience. And I don't want to say, when I say Western, I just mean the rest of the world, really. I'm not necessarily meaning the States or Europe or something. Because that's, there's money there. The market's there. But then there's a certain way of representing, air quote, Africa in their particular games that there's always a cliche element to it.
For sure.
And I know a lot of developers want to get away from it. But in the same time, how do they, in terms of your own work, how are you leveraging your storytelling in your particular games or your themes that you're working with that are palatable to a bigger audience, because that's where you ultimately want to get to. We all want to make money from our work, while at the same time not being inauthentic, or being authentic at the same time while as attracting the bigger audiences. Without falling into cliche, like I'm using like Wakanda as like a typical example. Like they always get the accent wrong for some reason. The accent's always weird.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you just use your own accent? Like, what's the problem? But anyway, I'm going to get cancelled for that comment. But anyway, just tell us how you're thinking about that particular space, because it's complicated.
Yeah. And like I said in the beginning of the podcast, we're steering away from the whole diversity award thing, and that part of it meant that we had to make games of like African descent, or we had to, I don't know, create like games that speak about an African story, a specific African story. And we're not against that or anything. I think we actually support that, and we appreciate developers that are doing that. But what we wanted to do something different. We wanted to connect with the rest of the world in ways which we don't dilute ourselves, but also find something that connects us all, because we're all human beings. We all have similar challenges. And like, for example, the game that you interviewed me on, Doba Dash, which is about waste management and recycling. When we started working on the game and doing research about it, we started off with the guy that pushed the trolleys. Okay. So we looked at the human condition, or a problem that faces all of us, which is waste management, How do we solve that problem? That's a global problem. It's found like wherever there's human beings, there's
There
bound to
will
be
be
waste,
waste.
you know.
Yeah.
And how do we create a game that's African but also speaks to the
Larger
global,
audience.
yeah, you know. And then we looked home and we looked at the street surfers, the guy that
Right.
pushed the trolleys, and we were like, how do we make a recycling game about these guys and gamify what they're doing? And then when we started doing research, we learned that you don't only find these people in South Africa, but they found all over the world, in Canada, in India, in Korea, China, like
Right.
everywhere, you know.
Everywhere.
The only thing that's different is the race and the trolley that they
Right.
use, you know, but it's the same game that you can plug everywhere. So that's like the thinking when we create our game. There's this other game that we also made. We had to rebrand it. It was called Horny, but now it's called Ronnie for like to be more palatable, to be like more accessible to a younger audience.
You call it what?
Horny.
But also, yeah,
How do you spell that?
Horny. Like there's a dash in between, so it's Horny. It's about rhino poaching.
Oh.
Yeah, I get it, but
Hey.
but obviously
gotta explain
in
these
SEO will come up. Everyone thinks it's just some sort of like
Yeah.
sex game or something.
Yeah, that's what we got, you know. So we had to rebrand to Ronnie, you know. It's about rhino poaching and wildlife conservation, and that's a thing, a global problem, you know. Wherever there's animal species that are being endangered, and these animals are found all over the world, how do we create a game that connects, you know, and we make the rhino, the African rhino, the main character, and then we plug in these other animals where
Right.
these countries can connect, you know. So those are like when we create our games, we want to look at what connects us all, and we develop a game based off that, and we make maybe the main character or one of the characters an African character that has an African story. That way we don't get lost or we don't dilute ourselves, but we also like include the rest of the world. Yeah.
Interesting.
Would you consider yourself like a? I don't put you in that box, but maybe you do. Like a, and by box I don't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I just mean to say that's how you're placing yourself in the industry as a games for change type thing, like a socially conscious game developed studio, or no.
The track record speaks for itself, you know. I think just also starting out, the challenges that we had, we needed to like stand out and like kind of make a name for ourselves because of the challenges, being the only black kids at the time, you know, getting these diversity awards, you know, like it felt like people weren't really taking us serious in our craft, so we needed to like speak out. And I think, and we inspired by like hip hop, you know, and I had interviews in the past where I speak about Space Salad Studios as the next hip hop, and now I'm saying we the next Mapiano, because hip hop was created as a response to the civil rights movement, you know, where black people weren't allowed in certain spaces, and you know, and there's all of these racial things happening, and hip hop became now the biggest genre in the world, you know, where even like Korea is making hip hop, everywhere in the world is making hip hop. So we wanted to become that, and we started studying the whole hip hop movement and how they became what they are and how did they build a culture. And that's how, if you look at like some of our skits or some of the things that we started to do to promote ourselves, we were following that trend, and I think we've been successful in that regard because we have a lot of studios coming up now saying, yo guys, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have started our studio, you know, we inspired by you.
Nice.
You know, I think, and that's the mission. We want to build a legacy, you know, for Space Side Studios, to say that you can make woke games, just don't make them like and I think people can abuse like the whole movement, you know, like what wokeism, and you know, if you can really look at where they started and how they turned out, you know, you can see that some people misuse that. So we want to show people that you can talk about certain issues, or maybe you can speak to the gaming community, and because they spend so much time playing games, how do you use that time and convert it into something good for the planet, you know, for their communities, you know. And yeah, so you can, I guess you can classify, even though we've never like won anything for G4C or anything like that, you know. But yeah.
What more stories are you planning to tell through gamifications and games, from a global perspective, from an African perspective? What stories can we expect from you in the future?
We don't want to do that. We want to take it the next step further, where we connect the fashion world. So I like to call myself like the bridge